I want to make it clear that when we have service dogs in training, we are not just training them to go to a veteran, and that's the end of it. As of 2022, we have deployed over 159 dogs to our veterans in need of an assistance dogs.
Welcome to Veteran Voices, SITREP, with your hosts, Tom and Chris Faust.
Welcome to Veteran Voices. I am your host, Tom Faust. I am here with Sonia Jordan from PAWS for Purple Hearts. And today we're going to talk about their mission and what they do for veterans. So welcome, Sonia. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the mission for PAWS for Purple Hearts?
Yeah, so my name is Sonia, and I serve as the marketing and communication specialist for PAWS for Purple Hearts here at our Washington site. I'm one of a couple sites. We have sites in Alaska and Virginia and California and Texas, as well as here. And our mission statement is to improve the lives of America's warriors, which are our veterans and our active duty service members who are facing mobility challenges and trauma-related conditions like PTSD or TBI, by providing high-quality, top-notch service and assistance dogs, as well as canine-assisted therapeutic programs, and by also building public awareness about the important role that dogs and our dogs play in helping our veterans along the road in recovery.
And so can you tell me about how many veterans, active duty service members, whoever that you have, or this organization has helped so far?
It depends on what you're asking and who, in terms of what we've done. Our social therapy programs have helped about 20,000 people right off the top of my head. And our canine-assisted warrior therapy programs have helped around that number as well. I don't have exact numbers, but I know our site in particular served over 150 veterans last year just in our community alone.
That's awesome. And is that, and I know that you do a couple of different things as far as serving veterans. Some is providing the dogs and some is training the dogs. So of those, how many actual dogs have been trained and provided to veterans, like in the past year, of those 150?
Yeah, so as of 2022, we have deployed over 159 dogs to our veterans in need of an assistance dogs. And then our total numbers have been about 13,000 in that year as well, of veterans that we have served nationally. So that's where we stand now. That number increases every day with more graduations and more programs that we run. And we seek to see that number to grow higher and higher as we expand across the country and expand our programmings in our communities.
Okay. So, all right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I was surprised at the number of dogs that you actually can train and get put into service like that. Because, if you're getting 159 dogs provided to veterans and service members, and that's in a year of 150 that you've served, that's, well, just talk about the numbers. That's basically every other day.
To be clear, we didn't place 159 in the year of 2022. It's just since our opening and our founding, we've placed 159. I wish we could place 150 dogs a year. That would be a dream come true one day, hopefully. But no, that's been collectively across our entire operation and organization.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. That makes more sense. I was going to say that's a lot of dogs. Wow.
I wish.
How long does it generally take to train a dog?
Yeah, so it takes about 2.5 to 3 years, depending on the dog and what they're learning and who they're going on to serve. We also don't just place dogs with veterans willy-nilly. There's a lot that goes into the placement of a dog, and that can affect the timeline. So 2.5 to 3 years, generally speaking.
And I recall when we talked earlier that you said that you train the dogs by sometimes bringing them into your office there, sometimes taking them out to be with other people so they get used to other homes.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into training a service dog to eventually go on to serve a veteran. So they start from day one with us all the way until their graduation, and then we continue to work with them after they've been placed. But while they're with us and are actively in training, they start from the day that they're born, being kept at our facility, typically at our headquarters. And then they have puppy petters who come in and they just desensitize the dogs to people. And they go through a lot of different training of sounds and textures and noises and all different things. And then once they get placed with their trainer, really starts the hard work of really learning how to get these dogs, to behave unobtrusively and politely in society while still maintaining their role and carrying out whatever tasks they have to do to serve their veteran. And so with that, they obviously work in our facilities, in our training room and around in our office, but they also get taken out into the public wherever we're welcome and able to work to be exposed to everyday stressors and triggers for our veterans, the people that we serve, as well as just normal day-to-day things. So that can include going to the grocery store. That can include going to a really busy mall. That can include going to the movie theater and having to learn how to sit still for an hour and a half and not eat popcorn off the floor. That can include being brought to a library where there are children goofing around for a children's program. Bowling is a big one. A lot of people enjoy bowling, and bowling, when you think about it, is a really loud thing to be exposed to. Or mini golf and not going after the mini golf balls being putted around. I mean, there's so much that we experience every day that we don't realize that for a puppy is completely foreign and new to them and can be scary. And so we work with them very closely to make sure they are desensitized and are able to participate with their veteran, but in a way that does not impact anybody else around them.
Wow. Yeah, that's yeah, I hadn't thought about bowling. That's yeah, very loud. And then the little golf balls, I could see them wanting to chase them. That's
and the movie theater can be super loud too, and you never know what's happening in the movie in front of you. So they need to be ready for just about anything that is typical for a day-to-day experience.
So you said before, when we were talking about the various different kinds of things that the dogs do for the veterans. So I mean, some are physical activities, some are sensitivity to the mood of the veteran. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so by the end of our training, our dogs will have learned over 100 commands, and these are your regular dog commands of sit, stay, shake, go say hi. Wait is a common one, but then we also have very specific things that we train our dogs to do to help veterans in particular. And so there are mobility tasks, and there are those tasks that require maybe a bit of mitigation of stress that our veterans may show. So, for example, our dogs learn to recognize when hands are being wrung as a potential stressor. And when you wring your hands, if they can reach them, they will come over and start nudging you with their nose. Or if you bounce your knee, they'll come and start nudging you with your nose, which is always funny because a lot of people bounce their knee while they're working, and to be called out by a service dog in training for that just in the middle of the workday is always a pleasant reminder that maybe I should calm down a little bit. They also, as a step up from that, are trained to provide deep pressure therapy, and that can look like the starting of a visit, which is where the individual is seated and the dog will come and place their head on their lap and just rest there and look at them. That way you have access to pet the dog's head or to look into their eyes and regulate that way. A step up from that would be a lap, which is where the dog will take their front two paws and come up on the lap while their bottom two paws are still on the ground, and they'll hang out up there and you can hug on them and they can kiss you or whatever you need. And then a step up from that is where the individual can be seated or laying down on the ground or on a stable surface, and the dog will come in and do a lay on, which is where they put their whole body on you, where you really get across the board deep pressure therapy, kind of like a weighted blanket. And those are used to help our veterans deal with situations where they may be getting stressed out and maybe need to recenter a little bit. For our mobility task, dogs are trained to do a number of things. Number one, they are trained to turn on and off lights. They can zip and unzip jackets, which is always fun to show. They can take socks off. They can open drawers. They can open certain types of doors. You can tell them to go get something and point to it and bring it back and give it to me. And they are trained to put it in your hand, not to just drop it, but to actually hand it to you. They do that a lot in stores where they will take from a veteran who's possibly dealing with some mobility challenges, they will take a credit card from that veteran and hand it to the cashier. The cashier can run the card, give it back to the dog, and the dog will hand it back to their handler. They are also trained to, if they have their leash on the ground, or maybe you drop their leash because you're doing something, they will pick it up and give it back to you. So you're not having to bend down or get down on the ground and things like that. So very extensive training to be as useful as possible out in the real world, I guess you could say.
It's amazing that they can learn to do all these things. It's
incredible to watch.
Yeah, it really is. That's amazing. I'd love to actually see some of that in action sometime. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So how do you get into this? Into the working? Do you do the training of the dogs, or are you more of a facilitator?
So I am the marketing and communication specialist. So my job is to come out and do things like this to spread our mission and who we are, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and who we do it for. I'm also responsible for raising funds and organizing events to get the community involved with us. So I don't train the dogs. I just get the added privilege and pleasure of being around the dogs almost every day for work. I also run our social media account. So I get the fun job of going on all the trips and filming what's going on and taking pictures and helping support in that way, to share in our social media, to get people interested and see that we are out in the community and this is what we do. And if you want to get involved, here are a couple ways to do it.
And I recall that you also have a cat, your own, but she's kind of always with you.
Yeah, so she stayed home today because she's clocked out because it's a Sunday, but her name is Lola. Lola is our facility cat. She is also my personal cat, but her job is to come to work with me on days where I'm going to be in the office all day and just hang out. She has her own bed, her own cat tree, and her own litter box, and she hangs out, and her scent is used to desensitize the dogs to having a cat around, because cats are either the number one or the number two most common pet in America. And we want to make sure that our dogs, should they come across a cat, can behave and manage themselves appropriately.
That's cool. That works out well for you then.
It does.
So you mentioned volunteer opportunities just a minute ago. Can you talk about some of the things where people can volunteer to help out?
Yeah. So we've got a couple different things that we always need done around the facility. There are cleaning tasks, dog grooming tasks, taking the dogs out for walks, playing with the dogs. Obviously, setting up for events like we're having a grand opening next weekend, having people come in to help hang decorations for that. There is always something to be done here. So volunteers, our general volunteers, are very helpful in helping us carry out the day-to-day tasks so that we can focus on training dogs and providing outreach. And then our other type of volunteers, which is always fun to share with people because their face just lights up when you tell them that you can do this. But we have a program called Puppy Parents. And so what happens is when you have a dog with a trainer, it's a lot to send a dog home with a trainer because they never really get to clock out. They just go home and continue to not let the dog get into things. So they have to be focused constantly on it. And we don't want our trainers to burn out. So what we have happen is we utilize Puppy Parents, which are volunteers, and they will take the dog or dogs, if they can take more than one, on the evenings and love them and care for them and feed them and make sure they don't get into too much trouble. And at times reinforce a little bit of what that dog might be working on at the time. And they bring the puppy back in the morning for training and they pick them up in the evening. It's like having a kid in school is the best way that I explain it, where you get them on weekends, you get them at night, you get them on holidays if you're able to, or if we have a trainer who needs to go, who needs to leave work briefly for whatever reason, that's when you step in and you help us support a service dog in training that way. And people get so excited when they hear about that. They think, oh, I can take a dog home with me. And yes, you can take a dog home with you. And you have no commitment to their vet bills or their food or anything like that. Typically, we would provide everything for you: food, toys, bed, anything you need, we have. You just have to take care of the dog.
I'm sure there'd be a lot of people interested in that, or at least I would imagine you probably do have a number of them.
We have quite a few committed, very dedicated puppy parents, but we're always looking for more because we have people who maybe are PCSing because they happen to be active duty here, or people go back to school or they get a new job. So we're always happy to have an arsenal of people at the ready to help step in with that.
So you mentioned that you have a grand opening coming up. This is in the Tacoma area, I believe, Tacoma, Washington. Can you tell us about that and how long? I mean, you've been here a while, so a grand opening seems like an odd thing. What's that all about?
Yeah. So when we first arrived in Washington and started working here, we actually worked out of a building in Lakewood, Washington, which was pretty good. We were very central to the American Lake VA, which we work with, and we were not too far from JBLM, which is another place that we tend to go to every week to provide different programs. But we were running out of space. The more dogs you get, the more room you need. They need to run. They need to have space to spread out. We need office space as we get new trainers and new people hired. And so we moved from Lakewood to Tacoma to the Hilltop area, which is so exciting because we are in such a central location. And so with that and with this expansion, we are now better able to serve our service dogs in training, which means that we are better able to serve our clients. And we're also better able to serve our employees, which is very exciting because it just ups our efficiency. And we're out of that crawling stage of operating and now really in a walking, almost running stage. And so this grand opening coming up on August 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. is a way for us to open our doors to the public, which is a really exciting thing for us to do because it allows community members who maybe just are walking through in the neighborhood or are looking for something to do to come in and learn a little bit about us, meet our dogs, see what our dogs know how to do and what our dogs are working on, and find ways that they can get involved in helping us train these dogs to eventually go on and be placed to help somebody out in their everyday life.
So we'll include, along with this podcast, we'll include the address, the time, and the link, and the date, which is, eventually will go by. But if you watch this before the 17th, then you get a chance.
Yeah.
And then, so if people want to just help out in general, maybe not a volunteer, maybe not a puppy parent, but other ways that they can help, can they contribute? Do you take donations? How does that all work?
Yeah, so we are always absolutely grateful and appreciative of any donations that we receive. You can go online and donate to our site specifically if you want to really support Washington, or if you want to donate on a more national level, you can also donate nationally where it will get sent wherever it's needed. At the Washington site, we also do accept in-kind donations or dog toys, things of that nature. We do have an Amazon wish list where you can go in and maybe find a service dog in training here who really struck a chord with you. And maybe you want to toss them a new Kong or a new Frisbee. You can do that, and that dog will absolutely receive that toy and will probably end up sharing it, but they all end up playing with all of them anyway. There are ways to do that. There are ways to donate your time if you want to come out and volunteer. There's always, for anybody who wants to help, I can almost always guarantee that there is a way to help. You just need to ask.
So is there anything else that you want to talk about that I haven't touched on? You can share kind of pretty much whatever you like on this.
Yeah, so I want to make it clear that when we have service dogs in training, we are not just training them to go to a veteran and that's the end of it. These dogs we try to maximize our impact with our dogs and the people that they interact with on a day-to-day basis. And that really is where our social therapy and our canine-assisted warrior therapy comes into play. Because it's one thing to train a service dog to be placed with one individual. It's another thing to train a service dog while utilizing members of the community that they are going on to ultimately serve. And so what I'm getting at with that is while we have a service dog in training, we utilize them in canine-assisted warrior therapy, which is an 8-week course where we bring in active duty or veteran or sometimes transitioning between the two service members, and they learn firsthand what it's like and what it takes to train a service dog. And they're not training the dog in the way that a trainer would, but they are exposing the dog to different people and different ways of commanding and different personality types and different voices, and people look different. And it's just a very diverse group of people who get to work with this one individual dog. And that's great because the dog is exposed to hundreds of people by the time they graduate. On the flip side, it also serves that veteran or that active duty service member who came into this program looking to get something emotionally out of it. Studies have shown that spending time with dogs can increase serotonin and dopamine and help calm the nervous system down a little bit. So it's almost a best of both worlds. You have veterans who are getting those good feelings and those good vibes from being around the dog, who also know that they are doing something that will fulfill a service dog being placed eventually with a brother or sister in arms, as well as the dog getting a little bit of extra training and hanging out with all types of different people, which will only go on to benefit them in the future. The same thing with our social therapy, which is where we will take a service dog in training around to maybe a mental health facility, or we'll take them to different places where there's a high concentration of service members or veterans, and they just go to hang out, and it's not structured. You just get to come hang out with a dog. That's all you have to do. And with that, the dogs, again, are exposed to a lot of different people, and those people also get the benefit of just getting to be present with the dog, which is something I think a lot of people don't truly understand the impact of until they get to do it. And with testimonies that I've seen, I went to one of our California sites earlier this year to go to one of the graduations and the trainings of what it takes to actually receive a service dog. So I was on the other side of the curtain, and I was a mock client to really learn about what our clients have to go through to receive these dogs, because you're not just given a dog and told good luck. It's an ongoing relationship, and you also need to learn how to utilize your dog to their maximum capacity. And so we had clients come in and they had a dog placed with them, and this dog is not just given to them because they're the next person on the list and that dog is the next dog slotted to graduate. These dogs are really, really analyzed for their personality and their lifestyle type. You don't want to give the dog that's going to want to run 3 miles every morning to a veteran who maybe just wants to sit and fish and have a moment of peace. And the same thing, you're not going to give a dog to a veteran that runs marathons every day, and that dog really is just happy to hang out and take a breather. So what I had seen is that these veterans are brought in and they learn about the care of a dog and how important it is to make sure you're keeping your dogs healthy, and as well as how do you use this dog every day and what are the commands this dog knows that will make your life easier. And to watch the transformation of our clients who come in who don't know anything quite yet. They might know a little bit, but they don't know everything that they need to know. And then to see them so confidently leave that facility knowing that they have a team, which is them and their dog, and then also us, because we continue to check in with them to make sure they're good to go. They have a team supporting them going out into the world and being able to operate how they would like and on their terms is just really an incredible thing to witness. And it takes a village to do it. I saw the puppy parent who took care of that dog while they were in training hand the leash to the veteran. And it's a symbolic, I'm handing this off to you. This is your service dog who is not in training anymore. They are a full-fledged service dog. And now you get to go out and do whatever it is you want to do. And I've heard veterans tell me, I've been able to go grocery shopping. I've been able to go grocery shopping in years, and now I can actually go with my family, and that's all I've ever wanted to do. Or I can drive from point A to point B, and it's not an excursion anymore. It is just simply a task that I am carrying out. And to be able to witness that from a firsthand perspective is just really fulfilling. And it really hones in on the mission of improving our warriors' lives, which at the end of the day is the number one goal of these service dogs, is to improve their lives. And if that means having to turn on and off a light, that's one thing. If it means having to help regulate some of their stressors, it really is a comprehensive approach that we take.
It makes me want to come out and help with the dogs. And I've never really been a dog person.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I love dogs. I don't own a dog. I don't want to own a dog, but seeing these dogs every day and seeing the things that they do for the people that I interact with, who come through these doors, who come to us for programming, it makes my heart glow. And as somebody who has, just by nature of where I am and who I associate with, most of my friends and family are actually veterans or one day are going to be veterans. And this is a job and an organization that I know will do right by them. And that's extraordinarily fulfilling.
That's wonderful. Well, I appreciate you being on here. I've learned a lot, and I hope others learn a lot, and I hope that some of our listeners will find ways to volunteer or help out and do what they can with, in Tacoma or in the other cities. I should ask that. What are the other cities that Paws for Purple Hearts is in?
Yeah, so we've got a couple different sites. Our headquarters is in Canyonville, Oregon, and then our sites are here in Tacoma, of course. We have one up in Anchorage. We have one in San Diego, Menlo Park, California. We have one in Rutherford Glen, Virginia, and San Antonio, Texas. So we're pretty spread out. We've got a lot of dogs in a lot of places.
Okay, so anybody in those areas can look to try and be a puppy parent if they want to, or to help out as they can. That's great. All right. Well, it's been wonderful having you on here. I actually look forward to coming out and maybe visiting sometime. I don't think I can make it next weekend. My granddaughter's birthday is coming up, but I'd still love to visit sometime. That sounds really interesting.
We're always happy to host guests.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate your time, like I said, and that's just great, helping out with these dogs. It's just good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You're welcome. And with that, I will sign off for now, and we will see you next time. I will leave links to the various things that we've discussed throughout this podcast, along with the podcast, so that you'll be able to contact whoever you need to contact, do what you want to do. Thank you, and we'll see you